I really like these number 3 skillets, these little guys, and I don't really cook in them much, but they're just so cool. I don't know, I think they're beautiful. And I'm trying to think of things to use them for. I know people like to do individual meal, egg dishes in them and things like that, but I was thinking about individual servings of dessert, like a cobbler or little pies or something like that. I think they'd be really cool to serve. And coming up with some recipe to use in these. I like to do a simple recipe called a dump cake. Basically, you put some sort of a fruit, concoction down in the bottom of actually a larger pan, like a 9.5 by 13, standard sheet cake pan. And then you simply, it's called a dump cake because you just dump a box of white cake mix, just, store-bought cake mix over the top. Just dry, you don't mix it up. And then you put some butter on top of that and throw it in the oven, and the butter melts and saturates the cake mix and makes a nice, cobbler-like topping. It's delicious. Anyhow, I thought I could adapt that to these single-serving desserts I'd like to do in these little number 3 pans. So, with that in mind, I have to adjust the standard recipe, and I'd like to typically when I do the dump cakes, I used canned fruit. I'd like to do something a little bit fresher. So, I think I'm going to try like a blueberry cobbler, and that's what we're experimenting with today. So we're starting with a cup, about a little over a cup of blueberries, and we're going to use those as our base for one of these dump cakes. So let's do an experiment. All right, so we're going to take these blueberries and crush some of them up. Not a lot of them, but enough to where we get some juice in there. I want most of them to be whole because I think that's the way they're going to be delicious in this recipe. But we need to have some of them, the skin broken, because we're going to put some sugar in there. And the sugar is going to draw the juice out, but not so much if they're not crushed a little bit, or a few of them. So I'm going to crush them up a bit. I think that's about enough. And then we're going to throw in some sugar. So I think I'm going to add about an ounce of sugar to that. And then I'm going to add about a teaspoon of cornstarch to that to hopefully help thicken that up a little bit. And we're going to stir that up. So let's crush this a little bit more. Get some of the juice out of those berries, because we want that sugar to pull some of that moisture out of there and make kind of a little glaze inside there. I would use lemon juice, but I think I'm going to use because I don't have a lemon, and this is what I had off of the tree in the backyard, so it's a kind of a tangerine, I believe. So, we're just using what we have on hand. This is just an experiment, so that's what we've got. And I think a pinch of salt. So just a little bit. because, you know, that tastes good. All right. Okay, so we're going to use a little Griswold #3, nice vintage pan. And let's see, let's start by using some non-stick cook spray on it. Here we go. Just going to spray that up here off camera. Okay, just kind of generously spray that. And let's put our mixture in there. All right. And that fits about right. Yeah, very nice. Covers the bottom. It's about what we're looking for. So far, so good. Next, the cake mix. So we're just going to use some of this, you know, just regular dry cake mix. Nothing fancy. Now, I don't know the correct amount to put in there, so we're just going to have to experiment with this. And I'll just eyeball it according to, you know, how I've done this in the past. So just cover that. Yeah, that's looking good. It's going to create a crust on top. So something like that. That's the oven telling me it's ready to go here. Looks pretty good to me. All right, and then we'll put some butter on top. Now this butter is gonna melt and you know, get down into that cake mix and make a nice little crust on the top. So I don't know how much to put. Let's try that right there. All right, and into the oven that goes. Putting it in at 350, and just going to keep an eye on it. I'll probably check it at about 30 minutes. Check it so that we want to end up with a nice golden brown crust on the top. So here we go. Okay, so I believe our experiment is about done here. So there we go. All right, so this is what we ended up with. That's not looking so bad. Kind of what I was going for. So we have some dry areas here of the cake mix, not quite being saturated by the butter, so I'd probably go a little bit more butter next time, believe it or not. But that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to let that cool for a little while, and later on we will give that a taste test. But boy, that is looking pretty good. So this is how my dessert turned out. Looks pretty good, actually. It's cooled off a bit, so let's just go ahead and dig in here a little bit. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. Pardon me while I take a little bite here, because I want to see how it tastes. It's good. Oh, very nice. No, I don't think I would change much on that. The the blueberries have just a slight tartness to them, balanced with the sweetness of the sugar. I think I would keep this recipe. If I'm going to tweak it at all, maybe, it's not going to be in the sweetness. It's just about right. I did add a little bit of cinnamon that I did not show on camera. Would keep that. No, it's pretty good. So anyhow, there is a one serving number 3 skillet dessert. All right, there you go.